Hello, Free Pony. It's Fluttershy169 here, bringing to you Applebloom and Scootaloo Go to a Movie by Neutralmilk. In this story, after Applejack tells Applebloom and Scootaloo not to see the hottest movie in Equestria, the two fillies take it upon themselves to sneak off and see it anyway. With a clever lie, their night is practically assured to go off without a hitch. The only thing they hadn't accounted for was the movie theater itself. This story is a comedy and a slice of life. I haven't started reading it, and let's just jump right in and hope for the best here. But Applejack! The little cream-colored filly cried out to her older sister. No buts, Missy. I don't care if the whole school saw the movie. You ain't going. The orange mare stomped her hoof down on the hardwood floor of the farmhouse to emphasize her point. But the whole school's already did see it, she argued again. Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon were talking about it the whole day. Even Miss Cheerily saw it. Me and Scootaloo are the only ones who didn't go yet. Her whining bothered Applejack to no end, but she had to be strict. There was no way she would possibly let her sister Applebloom go see One in the Hoof. Those sappy romance movies only rotted the minds. Besides, it was rated R. There was no way she'd dare expose Applebloom of such trash at a young age. Big Mac, tell Applejack to let me go to the movie. She gave her older brother a pout, opening her large eyes as wide as she could. The red stallion pulled out his trademark hayseed and that dangled from his lips. Well, the truth of the situation is that you, my dear sister, are far too young to see that film. It's adult content. The adult content will surely scar a mind of your age and lead to a stray in your modern equestrian society. He placed the hayseed back in his mouth, a smile on his face. The two looked at him dumbfounded, their jaws dropped and eyes bulging wide as Big Mac sighed. Nope. He walked away, grumbling while the other two ponies shook their heads and regained their composure. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, Applebloom, y'all can't go see that movie till you're older. Now you go play with your friends and go crusading or whatever it is you do all day. Applejack turned and trotted away, leaving her filly sister to wallow in her own self-pity, or whatever it was ponies wallowed in. Applebloom let out a sigh and left Sweet Apple Acres to visit her friend Scootaloo, who was more than likely waiting in her clubhouse. Hey, Applebloom, what did your sister say about the movie? The orange Pegasus filly yelled. She excitedly flapped her wings and raised a small bit into the air, a wide smile on her face. She waited to see this movie for months. Now that Applebloom got permission from Applejack, she could finally... My sister won't let me go, Applebloom gloomily replied to her friend. What? The Pegasus dropped back onto the ground, her smile fading completely. What about... Big Mac said no, too, Applebloom said, anticipating Scootaloo's reaction. She dramatically fell to the floor of the clubhouse and let out a groan. It ain't fair. Why are the other ponies allowed to see it when I can't? Well, I'm not going by myself, she cried to Applebloom. That's so uncool. What would Rainbow Dash think if she saw me there alone? Applebloom groaned again. Forget about Rainbow Dash. What are we going to do now? Scootaloo walked over and looked down at her friend. Well, we could go see it anyway. What? We can't do that, Applebloom cried. I ain't allowed to go. Scootaloo turned away. Okay, I understand. I just didn't realize I was friends with a filly. She waited for it to reach Applebloom. What'd y'all just call me? I called you a filly, Scootaloo replied over her shoulder. A manipulative smile crossed her lips. She had her right where she wanted her. I'm a big pony, the cream-colored filly puffed out her chest awkwardly. Oh? Well, a big pony wouldn't let some pony get in the way of them watching the greatest movie ever, Scootaloo concluded to her clueless friend. Yep, right where she wanted her. Before she knew it, Applebloom was back at the house telling Applejack about the sleepover Sweetiebelle was having. She felt bad for lying, but the overwhelming joy of knowing that she was going to see the movie surpassed it. It was the perfect lie. Sweetiebelle had been sick for the past few days, leaving Rarity to take care of her while her parents were on another vacation. Because Rarity was so busy, Applejack and her friends hadn't had the chance to see her or even hear about Sweetiebelle's illness. Scootaloo and Applebloom were set, so it seemed. The only thing they hadn't accounted for was the movie theater itself. When the fillies arrived to the movie theater, they began to squeal in excitement. They rushed inside to find a mass variety of movie posters. Saving Private Pansy, $1 Million Fowl, and Trot the Line were only a few of the cinematic wonders that were coming to it in the near future. Moonstruck? Applebloom's eyes met a poster with a mare jumping pointlessly in front of a large photograph of the moon. The Manhattan skyline shone brightly, if somewhat gimmicky, in the background. This is some sort of documentary about Princess Luna? Huh? Scootaloo walked over to her friend. Oh, no. No, it's a movie with Cher. Applebloom cringed at the thought of Cher and fled the poster before the ugliness rotted away her very soul. I think I'd rather see the documentary. They eagerly darted to the ticket booth, a small bag of bits in each of their mouths. They happily exchanged smiling glances and dropped the money on the counter. 2 tickets for one in the hoof, please. Scootaloo's voice called up to the dark blue stallion behind the counter. Without any thought, he printed out 2 tickets and took them in his mouth. He placed the tickets on the counter and began to grab the bits, the mindless routine of his 8-hour shift catching up to him. Suddenly his eyes met 2 excited fillies that reached for their tickets. Oh, sweet Celestia. The stallion dropped the money and swiped the tickets back. You 2 are far too young to see such a... He searched his head for a word that wouldn't get him in trouble. For such a... interesting film. He printed out 2 different tickets and handed them to Scootaloo and Applebloom, who grabbed them fervently. The super magical, wondrous friendship adventures of Pinkles the Poodle? Scootaloo looked at the ticket she held in her hoof with great disgust. No thanks. Applebloom looked at the ticket more frightened. Moonstruck? She gave out a scream and threw it to the ground as hard as she physically could. Applebloom ran screaming from the theater, leaving Scootaloo to pick up the money. Outside, Applebloom had given up her dreams on watching the movie. It seemed Celestia just wouldn't let her win this. She sat on her flank and stared off into the distance. She heard Scootaloo come up from behind her. It just ain't fair! Applebloom brought a hoof down angrily. It let out a loud clop noise as it struck the pavement sidewalk they sat upon. Let's just go back to Sweet Apple Acres. Y'all can sleep over at my house tonight. She started to get up to head home, defeated. Scootaloo couldn't let this happen. She waited too long and came too close to give up now. She just needed to come up with a way to get Applebloom to try harder.